Everybody, welcome to the Earliest Alert. Brian Good here with you on this Valentine's Day. I am going to keep it as Earliest Alert, as I mentioned in the blog, until we get back into a colder regime to get into any type of snow chance discussion. I think that the idea, though, of the warmer weather and the flooding potential needs to be addressed and monitored, so we're going to focus on that, okay? Doesn't mean we're not going back to snow talk again. It just means for right now, there'll be a delay. So don't panic, bots fans. Okay, so the rain so far today has been right along 64. There are a few breaks actually trying to develop some of the clouds, so we can't rule out a little bit of sun. Some of the models are even trying to take us into the 60s this afternoon versus upper 50s. I'm going to evaluate that coming up for the midday update here as soon as the blog gets done. But in general, it's been fairly steady right across Louisville, one batch after another of pockets of light, then it'll go moderate, then it'll end. And you get another round, even some lightning strikes this morning, including around the Wabash there near Vincennes, Indiana. Got some lightning showing up. Nothing severe, of course, but just gives you an idea how it's a warm pattern for sure compared to what we've had. Over a half-inch of rain already recorded in Brandenburg. Louisville officially is over a quarter of an inch, with some spots in Jefferson County already approaching a half-inch. And so the focal point has been right along 64, very little to the south and north, really. But we're not done. We've still got more bands of rain as a low-level jet really kicks in later on today and tonight. We're going to keep that moisture flow going. It's going to stay warm as well. Very little change in our numbers expected on temperatures tonight. And if anything, we should rise. And it's a good thing we don't have a lot of instability tomorrow, because the wind fields tomorrow, they're strong. And then with a low-level jet, especially in the morning hours, if we were to have any instability, we'd be talking about severe weather. But it's at least late enough in the winter season, early enough in the spring period, depending on how you look at it, that we don't have to worry about that, which is good. But it does mean a lot of wind above us, so it will turn quite windy later on, and certainly tomorrow. It's going to be a windy day. Okay, so what's the game plan? Well, I'm going to take this step by step. For those that have not seen this yet, the light blue line is the typical rain-snow line aloft, and the white line is typically the freezing mark, was indicated on the model, at the ground level. They don't always overlap, but it tells us really the story when we get into the borderline colder stuff, as you'll see in a second. For the rest of the day, though, shower activity will continue. It'll eventually fade out later on this afternoon and evening, and then overnight into tomorrow. Most of the rain, I think, is going to be limited to Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. How close to I-64 that ends up being as far as downpours, I can't tell you yet. It'll be close. But I think we'll have enough of a drying surge to work its way in, and a strong wind flow that'll allow us to get to 70, if not higher. In fact, I'm thinking about going higher than what we already have for tomorrow, which will arrive with a record high of 74. Then we head into Thursday night into Friday morning, and that's when the front itself gets a little more organized. The healthy band of healthy rain, decent rain comes into play. It'll pass through after midnight into early hours on Friday. Now, at that point, the rain-snow line aloft passes through. Not the 32-degree line, but the rain-snow line does. It's not painting a mixture because this is the Euro. It's very sensitive to the different layers of the atmosphere. So it's got, just a hair warm enough to keep it all liquid. Other models don't, as a lot of you are aware of. I would not rule out it changing over, at least mixing with, or at least changing over to a burst of wet snow. But the soil temperatures are going to benefit from the warm weather coming our way, and the fact that it's relatively wet ground. Those really mitigate any type of accumulation typically. You can, if it comes down hard enough, overcome that. You can, despite what people may think and rumors. You can overcome that by one factor only. If temperatures are in the mid-30s, you can overcome that with snow rate. So if it's coming down hard enough, it will start to palp a little bit on the roofs and car tops and grassy areas, but it would likely melt. As soon as that rate eases or it shuts off completely, it would be a memory. That I'm not going to rule out, as this all ends on Friday. I'm not foreseeing any issues other than that. And the grassy mounts could be, like nice little coating. We'll worry about that when we get closer. Then we stay chilly Friday night. But then the problem is this other wave. Now, yesterday the wave looked like it would come into play more Sunday. Now it's trying to trend more towards Saturday. It'll sneak in. Now, this one's got to be watched because we've already got the rain-snow line to the south. Now we're getting moisture thrown into that. Now, it will be moving with it to the north, but where they could overlap, there could be a rain-snow mixture. And again, the model is very fickle on that, but there is an opportunity for at least initially to see some snow with this and then go over to all rain. And most of it looks to be a Kentucky event, and then it's out of here. Now, Sunday then would trend to be our break day. That's good. We need one day here of a break because we're back at it again. Another wave sets up. And this is where things get interesting for next week, is that we're going to have pretty much a block here across the southeast over Bermuda So all the storm systems are going to be tracking to our north and west. This is going to put us in a very strong south flow. And if this were like July, I would call this kind of like the ring of fire, where you get thunderstorms that kind of surround the high. It's the same idea, except the ring of fire is displaced to the southeast corner of the country. So wherever the position is of that Bermuda high will really determine the angle of the heavy rain bands that go around it as each storm system passes to our north and west. And that's where the models vary a bit. But in general, it's a very strong southwest flow that is loaded with moisture. That is what every model is showing. One wave comes in Monday. Temperatures will likely get into the 60s. I think Tuesday is one to watch. Now, the GFS wants to bring this all the way in Tuesday afternoon, therefore we're still in the 60s. Euro wants to hold this back. And I'm favoring that idea for now. Doing so would allow us to climb in the mid-70s, even some upper 70s to the south of us. I haven't looked at the records yet, but I'm sure that's probably up there. But anyway, that is a possibility for Tuesday afternoon. Then by the time we get into Tuesday night into Wednesday, then it moves in, and then yet another one moves in as we into Thursday into Friday. And when you know it over the weekend, more of them. But notice the angle is shifting a bit. So the ridge, the ring of fire, will, instead of becoming a little more angled, more southwest to northeast, it is going to become a little more angled of a very sharp southwest to almost due east angle to it. Still can provide some heavy rainfall in our area. It's just that it may not be as warm, but the rainfall would still be at play. So there's a lot to watch, guys. In fact, even the Euro is painting impressive rain totals, as we've been talking about, more than a half a foot in some spots, where that ring of fire is going to keep the constant flow of downpours with each wave. I think in general, I think the potential for river flooding is going to be high in the Ohio Valley. And this would, anytime you get any type of heavy rain to Pittsburgh, it causes the Ohio to react later and rise. You guys familiar how it works downstream or upstream for us to downstream. But the small rivers got to watch, and in some cases, if we are dealing with thunderstorms that take place, there could be some flash flooding, but those will be handled on a very short-term basis. But river flooding is what we're looking at, and the potential is certainly growing over the next 7 to 10 days. As long as we're in that zone, got to pay attention. Now, the Euro itself, the ensembles, indicate the greatest potential for those high rain totals is, again, right along the Ohio River, is kind of what I draw. Now, the GFS, a little more south, paints it more toward Tennessee. Still gives us a healthy amount, but you can tell where the difference in the models, it just shifting at 100, 200 miles on that high to the southeast determines where the focal point of the heavier rain totals or the maximum will be. And that is important to answer. And we're not there yet, but we're getting close. But we know somebody's going to get it. Okay. Now, when it comes to severe weather, can't answer that yet. But we do see decent wind energy with this kind of a setup. And if we get some any type of heating or instability that can develop with this setup, especially with the Euro idea on Tuesday, yeah, that's a possibility for stronger thunderstorms. I wouldn't rule it out. But right now, it's the idea we can't tell how much energy we're going to get. Is what's holding us back on that. It's holding the Storm Prediction Center back too until we get a handle on that, and it's to be expected. It's only Wednesday, so just bear with us on that. But that's just know we're watching that too. We're not ignoring it, but no need to react. Okay, a lot of you have been talking about this, about how the NAO is going negative on the, especially the Euro. Actually, just about every model, it tanks anytime you go negative. Typically, you go with a trough in the eastern part of the country, and you get into more of a blocking pattern over Greenland, which means we get stronger storm systems in the East Coast. The thing is, the PNA is not going way positive. It's heading in that direction, but it's not there. So that doesn't always necessarily mean when you have a negative NAO or even a blocking over Greenland that we're going to get colder, by the way. In fact, when you look at the blocking setup on the GFS or the Euro long term, even on the Euro long term, you see the blocking there, but it doesn't necessarily paint a picture here for a colder setup in the eastern part of the country either. But it can mean that the polar vortex can split in different pieces. Doesn't always mean it's going to hit us. It can go to other parts of the globe. And right now, the models are aiming toward Europe for that idea, which is certainly possible. We'll see how it plays out. Plenty of time to watch it. That's it for today, guys. Enjoy your time with your other halves or with your candy or your pets or whatever you want to love on today.